Okay, today we're looking at day 2 linear relationships in graphs and tables. First, let's look at the general form for a linear equation. Y equals mx plus b. M times x is what mx means. Just as a reminder, remember y is the dependent variable. X is the independent variable. We'll talk about what m and b are in just a minute. So the problem we're looking at, Antonia's family is going on a trip to visit a museum. Each person must pay an admission of $12. In addition, the museum charges $15 to cover the tour guide. Complete the table and graphs shown below to represent the relationship. Let's start with the table. And we're not going to start with 0. We're going to come back to that in just a second. But if we have one person who goes in and goes on the tour at the museum, their admission is $12, and the museum charges the $15 for the tour guide. So that's a total of $27, or the $12 times the one person plus the $15 for the tour guide. If there are two people, it's $12 for each of the two people, so that's $24 total. 12 times 2 is 24. But then $15 for the tour guide, so 24 plus 15 is 39. If it was 5 people, it's $12 per person times the 5 people plus the $15 for the tour guide. Now notice that the $15 for the tour guide stays the same each time. It does not change regardless of how many people are going on the tour. So 12 times 5 is 60 plus 15, $75 for the total cost for 5 people. Now let's go back and talk about 0 people. If we think about the same pattern, well, it's $12 per person for 0 people, but we're still going to pay that $15 for the tour guide. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense in real world terms, but in terms of the math and filling in the table, that's what we're looking at. The $15, remember, that's the cost of the tour guide. So that's our table. So let's look at, remember, number of people is our independent variable. Total cost is our dependent variable. Now this is a linear relationship, and we'll see that in just a second. Let's plot these points. We have 0, 15. Now on our scale, here's 0 people. And this one is total cost. Okay, so if we have 0 people, the cost was $15. So halfway between 12 and 24 is going to be 18. Halfway between 12 and 18 is 15, so about right there. For one person it was 27. That's going to be 30. That's going to be 28. Actually, that's going to be 27. And then for 2 people was 39. So that's going to be about right there. And for 5 people was 75. So that's just above the 72. Now you'll notice that all those points line up in a straight line. We'll take our straight edge, and if we continued that line, it would keep going. So you can see that's why we know it's a linear relationship. It's because the graph of it is a line. It's also in the form of y equals mx plus b. In this case, x being the number of people, y is the total cost. Now m M is the rate of change. Which is also called the slope. Okay? The rate of change or the slope, that is M. In this case, the rate of change, well, how much is it changing each time? It's going up from 15 to 27. That goes up by 12. Every time this goes up 1, this goes up 12. Notice that the y over x ratio is not the same, but the change in y over change in x ratio, the amount that it changes each time, that goes up 12, and this goes up 1. This one goes up 3, this one goes up 36. 36 over 3 is the same. So the rate of change, which is the M, or the slope, is 12. The rate of change is $12 per person. Okay? The B is the initial value. Or also referred to as the y-intercept. Okay, but if you think as the initial value, that's the starting point. And notice that the graph starts at 0. The 0.15, the graph starts at 0.15. It's the initial value where it crosses the y-axis is at 15. 0.15 is the initial value, the value of y when x is 0. Okay, so our equation becomes, since the rate is $12 per person and the initial value is 15, the equation is y, the total cost for X number of people, is $12 per person times the number of people plus the $15 for the tour guide. In words, total cost y is 12 $12 per person times the number of people plus $15. So when you find the rate of change and you find the initial value, you can always write the equation by plugging in those numbers for N and B respectively.